Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry it's been so long. So I'm gonna show you guys around, get you guys all up to date, and explain why we've been so, not lazy, but delayed on our videos. Let's go. All right guys, so what basically happened was the good Lord said, we're not gonna have a fall this year. We're gonna go straight from summer, busy concrete season, right into winter. Not literally, but that's what it's felt like. So we've been in a mad dash to get this barn wrapped up. So we need to get well, we need to get a septic field, we need to get this plumbing done, the bathroom hooked up, power to the barn. We've had a huge delay, there's been some storms. So all of the linemen have been busy fixing all the down power lines and not doing new installations. Things are starting to come together and feel like we're getting closer. So first thing, these beautiful doors. These are 16 by 14 overhead doors. And then coming over here, we have the electrical panel. I got all my home runs for my lights. So there'll be 3 rows of 6 lights, and then there, and there are for fans. So they're all coming together, so we need to hook these up. We have all of our outlets on the walls, ready to feed the wire through. We have all the steel on the outside, except for right here. Another thing we didn't show you is this beautiful front porch we're building. This is a 12 by 10 rough sawn cedar front porch. There's gonna be black steel on the inside for a ceiling, and this diagonal is just to hold this nice and plumb while we're getting all the steel on. So these last pieces of steel are gonna be a little tricky because this piece here needs to have this top angle cut, needs to have this little triangle. It's gonna be a tricky piece to cut. So I wanted to get the majority of the barn buttoned up so we could stop our stuff from getting wet. The steel is pretty simple. They're 3-foot sheets, and it's simple on paper, but sometimes it can be tricky to install. Hank blessed us with his beautiful paw prints on almost every sheet, but this stuff comes right off. That's why we went with steel, because it's durable and it'll just wash right off, or we might scrub the barn, I don't know yet. It'll depend on the weather. So we installed these windows. These are Anderson 100 series. They are great windows. They're just kind of more of a budget-friendly black window, because black windows can get super expensive. And then we did a black J-channel around the outside for the steel to tuck into, just to give it a little bit more of a black farmhouse look. And we had our insulation as well. We got this insulation from Menards. It's called Silver Coat. It's essentially a batt insulation product with a, you can kind of see through here, this little bit of a tarp material. So it's actually a vapor barrier, which in Michigan, where we're at, when you're heating this barn with our in-floor heater, with any heat source, and your outside is cold, your building is going to sweat. So that insulation and the vapor barrier will stop the moisture from getting into the lumber and on the back side of the steel. So we have it for the ceiling and all of the walls. I believe it's R19 in the walls and R25 in the ceiling. The plan is, I think that'll be good enough for the walls. And then someday, once we get steel on the inside ceiling, we will blow in more insulation to get us up to like an R50 or something. We're just trying to save money right now. Next, I'll take you guys outside and show you the progress. All along this tree line, pretty much every tree except that guy and a few guys down there are all black walnuts. Well, over there behind the skid steer is going to be the house someday. So over there will be our nice backyard area. We don't want black walnuts falling and killing the yard. Apparently dogs aren't supposed to eat them. They're making a ton of racket with all the walnuts that have been dropping this year. And black walnut is a very valuable wood. So we just had a tree company come out and value our trees. Needless to say, they're gonna come cut down some trees for us. So I guess I will describe the septic field, which is simple. Every house has one, but it is a huge deal to me and to Chelsea, because our last property, that is the reason that we were not able to build there. They would not allow this traditional system. They would not allow an engineered system. So they deemed the whole property not fit to build a house, which seems astronomical to me how you can say that, but that's where they draw the line. So we got approved, everything is above board. It's gonna work great for the house and for the barn bathroom. So this is like, personally, this, struggling for words. The last property was such a source of stress for us, having to go through all of that. So to finally have this in place and 1 week from being done is just amazing. So sorry if I'm getting a little emotional or worked up about a very simple septic field, but it means a lot. So I'll walk you through what we have going on. If you recall in the plumbing video, we had a pipe coming out the barn. That's right there. So that will come from here into this first tank here. These are both 1,500 gallon tanks. They're made of concrete and they're about 4 inches thick. This inlet will come in the end for the barn. The house will come into the side here, and the stuff that nobody talks about goes into this first tank. Once this tank fills up, the solid stays at the bottom, the liquid floats up and it goes into the second tank. This is another 1,500 gallon tank. Same exact process, with the exception of this second lid here is for an effluent filter. This essentially filters out the already filtered out liquid. And it will go from here into this massive beach over here. Yes, I said beach, not. This here is a 60 by 40 drain field. And as you can see, we are very close to the surface. With the clay soils, they wanted us to be 18 inches down from the highest point, which is right here. So unfortunately, 18 here means pretty much flush with the ground over there. So we're gonna have some landscaping work to do in the future, but again, I don't care. They approved it. It's gonna work, make my yard whatever it has to be right now. I'll figure it out later. So on Monday, we are going to drop stone here. We're gonna put 4 inches of stone. We're gonna put 4-inch pipe and then 4 inches more on top of that. And then we'll take some of this extra sand and spread it over the top after we put a filter fabric. And this will be a giant grid essentially of PVC pipe with holes drilled in it. So the filtered water that comes here will dissipate into all these different pipes. They're all connected in one manifold and average out amongst all of the sand. This is about 6 feet deep of sand. So by the time it gets down, the filtered water is again filtered by the sand, goes back into the earth, and that's the whole process. They put two new poles to the old power line was sagging really bad, and they needed stronger poles to be able to hook everything up. So they bored underneath the road and ran line all the way through the swamp to this transformer, and that's where the wires connect, and it trenches all the way up here to this box. So I'll show you guys. This is what the insides look like. We have the 3 lines coming from the transformer. They fed these up here. This is the service cable that comes from inside. I fed this in here, and we have this guy connected here, this guy connected here, and our ground connected here. I believe this smaller one is the ground. That will go to that terminal back there. And these massive guys will go in these top lugs right here. It's a little underrated on the internet how difficult this stuff is to work with. It's kind of like wrestling a bear to get this stuff bent and in place. So it took a long time to feed it through here in such a tight bend. I didn't want to have this cable coming directly through the steel, so I cut a hole here and put this little conduit coupling, and I'll just put a nice bead of caulk to clean this up. I should have used a hole saw, but I was lazy and used my snip, so I'll clean these up and fill this full of insulation so no bugs can get in there. If you're an electrician or a plumber, you're probably laughing hysterically at this primer job. Long story short, I did it about 11 o'clock at night. Chelsea was holding the flashlight and I wanted to make sure it was really strong. I'm going to take my wainscot line and paint from here down black and from here up white so this panel blends in. So I was not concerned at all about the primer getting on it, but this is a very messy job and I would not recommend doing this on a job site or anywhere where you're not positive it's going to be painted. Same thing with this white vent. This is the dryer vent. This is going to get painted.
Here we put the insulation up in the walls. We did the walls first and then the ceiling. This was definitely my least favorite part of the whole barn. It was very messy, very difficult. It took about 5,000 staples, about 3 to 4 days, but we got it done. and we were able to turn the in-floor heat on and get it nice and cozy in there. So I decided to do some finish work. So I put these 2x4s at heights I thought would be useful for cabinets or for mounting things someday, and the top one is for the OSB to steel transition someday. We went with OSB instead of plywood purely because of the price, and we knew we were going to be painting it someday anyway, so the finish really didn't matter. It's a pole barn, so I flipped it backwards and used the smoother side. Should be a nicer finish after it's painted. But it was super nice to get my tools in one spot and organized where I could find them instead of working out of a pile like we had been this whole barn project. It was a super beautiful winter. The trees were amazing. There was tons of wildlife coming up to the barn every day. Thank you guys so much for following us on this journey. Sorry we didn't keep up with the videos like we had intended to. It was honestly pretty difficult to film and to work so fast. This is the first huge project Chelsea and I have ever done together. But we have the house coming, so if you guys want to watch the house and all the fun that's going to come along with that, make sure you subscribe. Thanks, guys.